All right, turning now to pandemic pets. Adoption rates for new furry family members began to soar with the onset of the pandemic, while many of us were spending more time at home. But that upswing may have contributed to a sudden shortage of vets. Now some pet owners are scrambling just to book routine appointments. With us now with more on that, caring for your pets, is board-certified veterinarian surgeon Dr. Courtney Campbell. Also joining the conversation is our chief medical correspondent, Dr. Jen Ashton. Can I tell him that you're friends?
We are good friends, and I have such mad respect for Dr. Campbell because it is so much harder to get into veterinary medical school than human medical school.
Well, we are glad to have you, Dr. Campbell. Again, thank you for joining us. So you say this shortage of vets has shifted us into crisis mode. Why is there such a strain right now, and what can pet owners do to get through this?
Well, thank you so much for bringing light to this major issue. And in full disclosure, Dr. Jen and I, we're supposed to keep our friendship a secret, but thank you so much for bringing this important issue because it feels like there is a shortage, whether it's perception or the absolute numbers. All pet parents all across America can feel the fact that there's simply not enough veterinarians. There's been disastrously long wait times, and we are really working hard to try to correct that. And so I think if you are a pet parent out there and you're wondering, how can I help when it feels like I have a 7-hour wait time or an 8-hour wait time at an emergency hospital? Here, I recommend to focus on the 4 Ps, right? And the first P is plan ahead. Simply plan ahead for any wellness appointments. If you know your pet is going to travel, if they need vaccines, parasite control, refill of medications, that's so important. And the second P is going to be portals. Embrace telemedicine, embrace technology. You may be able to talk with your veterinarian obviously through the internet, or be able to send a video or text or send picture updates so that they can be apprised of what's actually happening in the health status. And number 3, it's really important that you may be speaking to a different veterinary health professional. You may not always be speaking to the doctor. We really need to leverage that amazing talent in our veterinary technicians and our veterinary nurses that can speak to pet parents and give vital information on the health status of our pets. And finally, patience. So many veterinarians and so many vet techs and veterinary nurses, I want to give a big shout out to them. Unfortunately, they're experiencing high levels of anxiety, high levels of burnout. So I think it's so incumbent upon all of us just to be as patient and as kind as we are to our pets, as we are to the veterinary healthcare force. But I think if you focus on those 4 Ps, we can definitely get through this crisis together.
And Courtney, those are such good tips. I'm one of those pet parents who's a little behind in the annual visits, so I'm going to try to remember everything that you just explained to us. But let's shift gears and talk specifically about COVID and what we know about this strain of coronavirus and cats and dogs. There have been stories from the beginning. What's the latest on that?
The latest is that we want to focus on the fact that coronavirus is primarily a human disease. This question about whether pets can contract novel coronavirus or COVID-19 has certainly been asked a bunch. And as data is still developing, we're still trying to answer that question. The data is still unclear. But here's what is really important. What we know thus far is that there are some species that are particularly susceptible. That is cats, ferrets, hamsters, but there's a variety of mammals who have shown the ability to contract COVID-19 or the novel coronavirus, specifically mink in the wildlife, and now just recently white-tailed deer. So when it comes to novel coronavirus or COVID-19, cats, ferrets, hamsters, well, they're kind of like people too. And that means if you're going to isolate or quarantine yourself from people due to the risk of COVID-19, make sure you also isolate yourself from pets as well, or particularly the species that are most susceptible. What we understand, at least at this point, as of today, is that dogs are largely asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic, but cats, ferrets, and hamsters are the species that are of particular importance when it comes to pets and COVID-19.
And Dr. Campbell, full disclosure, I'm one of those new pet owners during the pandemic. Good afternoon to my little guy, Cannon. He had a cough earlier this week, and I was one of those ones who freaked out. And so many pet owners are worried about this canine influenza in California. So should we be concerned that this may become more widespread?
Well, there is definitely concern due to the largest outbreak of canine influenza or dog flu in Los Angeles. And I know there are some pet parents and people listening right now thinking dogs can catch the flu as well. And the answer is absolutely. And canine influenza, just like human influenza, is a respiratory virus. So far, what we know about canine influenza, it is not zoonotic. And the word zoonotic means, can people get it too? And the answer right now among canine flu is, the answer is no, but it can be spread among dogs. And really, I think about the most social dogs are at the highest risk. The dogs who are the life of the party at dog parks, boarding facilities, kennel facilities, the dog groomer. And this particular virus, dogs can shed it up to 21 days. And here's the kicker. Dogs can also be asymptomatic carriers, which makes this disease particularly pernicious and deleterious to the health of so many. And we know that this infection can be mild, but there have been cases of fatal infections too. So I encourage all pet parents, if your dog is social, make sure they are vaccinated against canine influenza.
Courtney, you're just always so helpful and informative. I wish you were my dog's veterinarian. And this is, I think, really important information for everyone. So, Dr. Courtney Campbell, thank you so much for coming on the show today. And I hope you can come back and talk to us soon.
I hope I can too. Thanks again for having me.
You got some smart friends.
I mean, let me tell you, he's brilliant.
Yeah, definitely great to have him.
Yep.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.